Hello, welcome back to the Off-Grid family. Today I'm going to be making myself a new camera and lighting rig. The one I've had for ages, and it was made out of an old easel, and it was never the best, but it did, you know, a fantastic job for what it was made of and how long it's actually lasted. But I want to make it a little bit more professional and work a little better. The old one, you'd press record and then you'd have to wait for a bit because it would just shake and wobble and wobble and wobble and then slowly settle, and then you could get on and so on. And I also didn't have enough up and down motion or left and right motion, etc. So hopefully I can make something out of some recycled parts, well, mostly recycled parts that I've got lying around, and we'll just see how we get on. First off, I'd like to thank Paul for being our Patreon. It's awesome that you're still supporting us, and I really do appreciate it. Also, I don't like asking for subscribers and likes, etc. However, there is a definite increase when I remember to ask. So if you're not subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate a subscription, because I'm trying to get to 10,000 subs this year, and with your help I can do that. Anyway, let's get on. Okay, so this is the behind the scenes look, and this is what I've been using for, I literally couldn't tell you how long. These are old table mats that I then stuck LED strips to, and spray painted, then stuck LED strips to. This is parts of an old easel, which allowed me to have, you know, a bit of movement and so on without actually having to do too much. And then the camera screws onto here, and it's a pain. It works, but it's a pain. So I would like to sort that out today, and maybe have a little bit more professionalism in my studio, let's say. Okay, for this project I'm using all of the parts from my old laser in this episode, or whichever. I stopped using it a long time ago. There was so much problems with the software and stuff. I got it all working, but it was just such a pain. So I took this apart in a previous video, which you can also find here. And basically I would like to turn this into a camera mount and lighting system of some kind. That is what this part is going to be for, the lighting system, but I may not get around to this part today because this is all the white LEDs I've got, and I don't think I've got enough. So I may end up leaving that out of the way, but I thought I'd add it in at this point just in case I do use it. I don't want to go, and this. I've 3D printed a large quantity of different bits. Some of this is for an upcoming project as well, but it's all in that box, and I'll show you as we get it out which bits we're going to be using and so on. This was the runners for the actual laser, and this is what I'm going to be using. Whoops. This is what I'm going to be using for holding on, like, the camera and various other bits. And this just slides on there and will not come off unless it goes straight off the edge. But it's solid on there. And basically, the most simple concept to this I'll show you is there will be bits connected like this, and it will slide backwards and forwards with cameras on it and up and down and so on, so that I've got X, Y, and Z movement, hopefully, for the camera. Because the thing I've got here is this camera can't be moved from here, and I can't make it come any further down, and I haven't got any left and right movement of any kind. So when I'm doing a bigger project, I basically have to move the whole project into view and then move it all back out, you know, and so on. So you know, I'd like a little bit more, you know, customization, let's say. Right, so obviously you're not going to have these bits lying around, but these are all 3D printable. I'll put links to all of this sort of thing in the description, but there's a lot of 3D printable bed things like this. You can even 3D print these wheels. These ones, come on, focus, my little friend. Focus. These have bearings in them, but the plastic ones I used earlier as testing, I only printed 2 of them out, but they ran absolutely perfect. So, you know, the plastic 3D printable ones work just as good. Well, not just as good, but well enough. So I'm going to need 3 of these, sort of like gantry kind of things, and bits of this. I'm not sure exactly what I'm using, but I printed these out, and these clip onto here like this. Oh, hang on, like this. Why do I always make everything black? It's ridiculous. And this will connect to the wall like so. These I've had to shrink down to a specific size because the actual original file prints them out that size. which is a pain because I waited for nearly 20 hours for them to be completely the wrong size. I didn't even bother checking. It said it was the right size. I believed them. They lied to me. So I'll put a little... I'll put a little size up here and percentage that I had to make it. I think it was like 79% or something. And it just happened to be the exact right size, which was pure and utter fluke, which was brilliant. Okay. So yeah, I've got various ideas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out now how I'm going to have it. I need to also cut a few bits of this as well. And as we go along, I'll explain each sort of stage because I would like it like this. Hang on. Okay, this one is going to come out from the wall and going to be connected like so to the wall. Ugh. And then I'm going to have another piece which I'm going to cut down, connected to the ceiling. Hang on. Like this, and then connected here. So that we've got connected to the wall here and the ceiling here. So we've got a lot more strength along this pole. Because I don't want it like just connected here and then, you know, I end up snapping it out the wall or whatever. So I'm going to have to cut this piece down. And then this is going to be connected via one of either these. Oops. Or these. I'm not sure which bit I'll use yet. They clip in like this. Or like that. Depends. I'm going to do a bit of testing to see. As I say, I've got another project coming up, so I was able to print out multiples of these because I can use some in this project and some in the project coming up soon. So as I say, I've got to cut this down now, and it's going to be connected either, you know, wherever. It doesn't matter as long as it's got a very strong support here, because as I say, I want lights on this and my camera was not cheap. I do not want that falling off the ceiling kind of thing. So that'll be what I'm doing next. I'm going to measure up and cut this, but it doesn't really matter what length it is because it doesn't matter how high or low this is from the ceiling, because I'm going to be having bits that come down from this, and we'll have hopefully a lot of customizability, so we can move the camera up, down, left, right, etc. I've decided to make the bar coming down from the ceiling about 15 centimeters. It's not an exact science, this bit, as I say, but yeah, that's where I'm headed. That's the sort of about that. I'm lucky with most of my projects because I can sort of just not guess, but I've got a lot of free reign to do whatever I like, you know. And as long as I choose the right bits to be stupid with, I'm okay, you know. So that should be about right. Now, as I say, once this piece is cut, it'll connect to the ceiling and then connect to our piece like this, just to give us some strength in the wall here and from the ceiling here. Okay, so here's our first part then. We've got this bit going onto the wall, this on the ceiling. Now this is one of the angle brackets I've had 3D printed out, and they're quite beefy, quite solid. As I say, everything will be in the description, links to all these different bits. And then this will be where we connect our first piece of downward facing aluminium extrusion, and then we'll have multiple ways of doing bits and bobs. I'll explain as I go along, but this bit now, we need to connect a piece of this to it. It's got to be cut down, obviously, and that way we'll have movement for the camera, and then we're going to need to add some extra bits to this next as well. Okay, so this is the piece we have left over from cutting off, and I'm going to plonk this somewhere like this, and what I want to do is I'm going to use these two screws to connect it to here, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to be enough. I may need to make another hole here and have them so that they're connected at both bits. I'm not sure yet. It depends how heavy this ends up getting, but we don't want it to obviously fall off with anything on it. I'd have preferred to have my laser so I could line it all up and, you know, shoot it with a laser rather than drilling through this stuff, because I don't like drilling it, but we'll see. I'll screw this together first now, and we'll just see how tight it goes on, see how, if there's any wobble. If there's any wobble at all, then we just won't. But other than this, I'm not going to be screwing much together of this main bit. I'm going to do a dry fit on everything first, and then we'll start screwing it in where it needs to go. I have 3D printed various bits and bobs, as I said. One of which is things like end caps to make it look all pretty once we're done. But also I've got these little doers that are to screw in and hopefully tighten up and make everything connect together nicely. So we'll try that as well. I was just trying to put in 3D printed parts, and then I suddenly realised I've got these metal ones that came with the actual laser, so I thought I'll use these while I can, until I run out of, you know, the actual metal parts, especially for this part, which is going to be quite load bearing. Now I haven't straightened that, I haven't made sure that's dead level or any of that stuff yet, but I just wanted to see how we're getting on and if it's going to be strong enough. Do you know what it is? I thought I was definitely going to have another screw up here, but that is definitely strong enough. Now I've got to decide, do I want movement, let's say up and down in vertical space now, so X, Y and Z. Right, so now let's zoom out a little. Excuse how messy the desk is. Okay, so this is going to now go up and down, and what I want next is another piece connected to here, so we can actually elongate the whole thing. Let me zoom out completely. Let's pretend it's up to here. So it will now go all the way down, and we've got a lot more, we can get closer to the desk, let's say. I'll explain more when I've cut this piece out again. The screws I was going to use had too big a head on them, so I'm actually going to use some of these, which I bought recently. It was a purchase I've relied on so much, and I didn't realise I was going to. I only needed, I think, these screws for the K40 bed, and I was able to buy all of this for less than if I just bought these screws on their own, so it's coming really handy actually. Again, I'm not going to line this up too straight. Is that going to go up at all? No. I'm just going to sort of eyeball it the best I can at the moment, and I'll straighten everything up when it's up on the ceiling. I may actually end up doing one more here, but for now this is okay. Let's just make sure this actually still will work. Yes, just. Okay. So that's the next bit, and what we want now is we want to connect, we need something here to stop this coming all the way off, which I think we'll just rely on an end stop. I've got ones that you can screw into, so that will hold it there solid. And then we're going to connect something to be able to connect the camera to. So this is the mount from a tripod, like a standard tripod, and the camera screws into this bit here. Come on, focus, you poo-poo. Right, and what I've done is I've 3D printed a part that is like the bottom part of a tripod, and what you do is you slide it in, and which, oh no, I've done it the wrong way around, haven't I? Hang on. You slide it in like this, and then you tighten it up, and then it's in there for good. Okay, so here is the moment of truth. Which way around does it go? This way. Oh, and it still fits. I was a bit concerned because of those screws being there. I wondered if it would fit or not. So, that's that. Next then, we're going to be putting a lighting rig part on. So let me clear up all this stuff and I'll show you what I'm doing next. Okay, so we're at the point now where we can go forward and backwards, and we can go up and down so we can get closer or further away from the work we need. At some point I'm going to have to come up with a screw system that will screw in somewhere and stop this being able to roll down. That's in the future. I'll do that soon, I'm sure. Next I want to put another piece of the aluminium extrusion across here. And And what this is going to do is this is going to hold the lighting. So whenever, it doesn't matter how far away from the object we are, the lighting is always exactly the same distance from the camera. So what I'm going to do is take some more of these corner brackets. I printed out 2 different types of corner brackets. And this will go here to here on both sides. So it would hold this completely on, and then I'll show you how we're going to connect the lighting to that. Okay, excuse the mess on the desk. I didn't show me screwing this all in because I wanted to keep this as a family channel and monetized. It was a pain, but it's in, it's solid there. And what we can do now is plunk this on here. Is that the right way around? Yeah. And then we're going to have some lights here and here. Okay, so this is the thing I printed out for the lighting. Now, originally I was going to have the flat lights like I showed you a minute ago. They're basically, it was just going to be a sheet of metal with LED strips on it. I was using metal just to disperse the temperature because they can get a little hot, not too bad, but it just gives them a bit longer life. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these little round lights that I've got, and I'm just going to connect them to it, and that just gives me freedom to move them around. So I've done it on this one here. And it just means that we've got a bit of control about where we want the lights, etc. And I'll show you what it's going to be like once it's connected. But basically, this will clip onto here, like that. And then the top goes on. Hang on, this is really hard to do one-handed. The top slides on. And once you then screw the screw in, it locks it all down. So if I do that quickly. Right, I believe it's the scary part now, and starting to connect it to the ceiling and getting all those bits ready. What I want to do before I do any of that is just start putting the end caps on, just to make sure nothing falls off once it's done. I printed 2 different types of end caps. Ones with screws, ones without. I will put the ones with screws on the weight-bearing areas, and the ones without I will put just on, you know, the top sections, etc. So there's the things. I actually snapped this one down the middle, but it doesn't seem to have changed anything. I'll put a couple of screws in this just to make sure it stays solid, and then we'll start connected to the ceiling and then start making some bits and bobs to stop it being able to roll down. This is looking very much like a medieval weapon. Okay, we've now got a stopper to stop this coming in all the way off, and let's connect this to the ceiling. As you'll see, we're not up on the ceiling yet, but I'm not sure about this. This bit has been bugging me the whole time, and I'm just not sure about it. I think that this might be eye level when it's all the way down, and basically that's never a good thing. But I don't actually know where else to put it other than that, so I'm going to have to come up with a plan of some kind. I may end up adding it to here, dropping this down a bit, and then adding it to this one maybe. I haven't decided yet. I'll and ahh about it for a bit. I was just packing up and deciding, you know, where things should go and stuff, and then I suddenly realised if it is here, then we can't go any further than that because we'll be hitting the wall. So it's not going to work anyway, so I've definitely got to remove this here and come up with a better placement for the actual lights. Okay, I changed the orientation of this, so now, oh god, this is getting hard to display on here. This is the bit that goes on the ceiling, and so it's actually, the lighting rig will be now above this set. I think that makes sense. I'm trying to show you, but like without having it all set up. Right, next I'm going to put this in where it needs to be, and then we can actually look at it properly with it all set out, and then I'll put the lights on it properly as well. First job is to take that monstrosity down. I'll miss it, it did me good, but I'll take that down. Okay, that's that down. By the way, does anyone realise what caused that bubbling? Can anyone remember from my old videos? We won't talk about it, we'll just move on. Right, now I need to put the main beam bit there. Right, that is it in. The old one is there because I need to detangle the wires, etc. I didn't record me putting this in, so it was extremely painful and took a lot longer than, you know, I didn't have enough hard drive space left for the amount of time it took me. It was just 8 screws, but you know, that where it was the problem. So it all works fine. It is all level, so it doesn't like slide back down on itself. Obviously this does at the moment until I put some stoppers on it, but that's what we're doing next. Okay, we're at this point now, and what I would like to do next is the bolts that will go in so that it will stop this going, you know, wherever we want it to stop. And I'm going to do one for the top as well, just so we've got control over both sides. Now I'll show you something first. I've 3D printed these little things, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, the top of this screw down a little bit so it can fit all the way down inside, and then I'm going to epoxy it in, I think. First thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to grind down these nuts so they're circular on the outside, so they slide in and out of the grooves of the actual aluminium, and then I'm going to use one of these, which is a 3D printed screw covery thing, and that will be my thumb screw. I'm going to use a longer one, I believe. Let me have a look. Probably use a longer one, maybe. That's about the same one, isn't it? But I might actually grind down the head on this as well so it can fit deeper into the actual thing, and then maybe epoxy it in. I'm not entirely sure, but I am definitely going to be grinding these down to rounded. Okay, this is the first look at the actual setup while I'm using it. This is literally on the thing right now. This is me going up and down. Woo. Okay, so I've just leveled the circled-ified these out. There's a scientific name for that, and that's what it is. Let's put this back away. And also, I didn't need to grind down any bolt heads because I had these ones lying around, so I can use these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to epoxy this in place, I think, just so that we've got something sturdy. So a little bit of epoxy down in that hole there. And then these have a little cap to go on the top, but I'll epoxy that in place as well. And then this will go on like this. And believe it or not, that should be enough to hopefully stop the things moving around. Okay, that's where we are at the moment, and I'm just obviously all these wires will be I've got an extension lead. Well, I will be getting an extension lead for that so that I can actually have the switches on the side here, and then I've still got total control over it, kind of thing. Yeah, next then I just need to wait for the epoxy to dry on the thumb screw thing, and then we should be near enough done. Okay, try and ignore the old one that's over there. This will all be taken apart soon. But up here we have the thumb screw that just allows the thing to come down to wherever you want, and then, you know, just tighten it up wherever. And so now I've got total control over how high I have the camera, and then where I have it in space, whether it's right forward or right back. All of the wires, as I say, will be all, you know, hidden and made to look beautiful. But that's good enough. You will notice it's slightly to one side. That is not a major issue. It's just it's too heavy this side, obviously, because I've got all of this. If I put a weight that side, it will actually sort it straight out. But I'm not particularly bothered, because all I need to do is slightly move the camera to, you know, align itself. So, you know, for someone that might be a problem, and if so, just put an extra bit of weight to the other side. But for me, not an issue at all. But yeah, what I'm actually thinking of doing, until I can get the other light, the LEDs, because I haven't got enough of the LED strips at the moment, I'm thinking about putting those old LED lights up here as well, just temporarily, just because it's something I can do that's going to take 5 minutes, and then eventually when I've got enough LED strips, I'll be able to do it. But I thought I had enough for this project, but I did not. Okay, it's not quite the modern look I was going for, considering I've used my old lights again, but let's have a look. We got light 1, light 2, and then the main lights. As you can see, they're all functioning absolutely perfectly. But let me show you what it's like facing downwards, and I'll show you what movement and so on we've got as well. Okay, so we've literally got from the actual, this is one of the lights I use, all the way along to the floor basically. And then from, let's try and show something we got a picture of. Let's have a look. Something I'll be reviewing eventually. And if we zoom in as far as we can to that, that's our top zoom. And then we can go like this, all the way to that. So we've got a lot more zoomage than we had before, and a lot more movement. So that's awesome. It's not the best, but it'll blink and do, and it's much better than the original. And one more thing I'd like to show is with all the lights on, that's how much light we've got. Okay, there you go. Not 100%, it's not as good as I wanted it. Now, when I first started designing this, it was going to be all electronic, and it was going to be, you know, I was going to have a little joystick to move it around and stuff, and I decided against that quite early on. And it's still not as good as I would have perhaps liked it, but it's going to work so much better than the original. So it just means that now hopefully I can have a much more professional feel and a much better, closer, in-depth view of things. Because when I'm doing electronics and I'm like doing very small things, it was very hard to be able to see any of what I was doing, etc. So hopefully this will just help us be able to see it a little bit better and, you know, be able to actually take a deep dive into what I'm actually doing. But I'd like to say thank you if you've reached this point and you're still listening to me waffling on. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, again, I would really, really appreciate that. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.